Hi, this is Matthew. This t-shirt says Iron Sharpens Iron. It's one of my new t-shirts. Only a Christian, if you wore this out, only a Christian would know that you're another Christian. People who aren't Christians wouldn't know what you're talking about. Um, so this is an interview with Princess Diana. Princess Diana is a friend of mine. I was trying to keep the questions different to book one and book two that I published. Princess Diana Speaks from Heaven, book one and book two have been published for years. I thought I'd update the questions. Um, I'm here drinking a drink, and the cup is a bit dirty. I haven't uh, made the cup clean. We've got 16 questions here. We hope to answer, and this will be part one of the interview. There'll be a part two also. Here we have Tulu. She'll not only ask the questions, but she'll listen to the questions and possibly give some commentary after Princess Diana has answered the question, and she may even ask other questions. And then when she's finished the commentary and asking questions, she'll ask the next question. So, God bless you, and I'll hand it over to Lou.
Thank you, Matthew, and welcome, Princess Diana. How are you, Princess Diana?
Yeah, I'm really good today.
Oh, do you know we're going to speak to you today?
Yeah, when Matthew got up, we told him that it was time. And before he went to bed last night, he knew that I was going to be the next interview. So he woke up this morning, and I put it on him. And you were comfortable in bed, and Matthew got you out of bed to come and do the interview. So he was a bit forceful. Matthew's never known you to turn down work, and you were rejecting it. And finally, he convinced you, and here you are.
Yeah, he never gave up, so I knew I had to stand up. And I don't like to reject work as well. So it's like, how can you? I was telling myself, how can you reject it? Speak to Princess Diana. You need to get up. But I was so tired. Well, it's good to be here. Ilana has told me, Mom, you could just do 1.5 hours. That's okay. So thank you, Princess Diana. So my first question is, were you surprised when you arrived in heaven?
I think rather than me being surprised, I did have a relationship with Jesus, and being a royal, we don't disclose much of our family life, much of our personal life. We live our life out in the public, and we keep a lot of things private. So a lot of people who were fans of mine who loved me would not have known about my relationship with Jesus, and I was living a lifestyle that wasn't chaste at the time of my death. I was, you could say, I was committing a fornication. I wasn't married to my boyfriend at the time. It's a really good thing that God looks at the heart.
Mm.
God looked at my heart. Jesus looked at my heart and invited me to heaven. And so I was shocked, but I knew that uh, Jesus was where my heart was, and
Mm.
I guess. The people of Earth would be shocked, and there'd be many Christians who might watch the video that this book comes from or buy this book and be surprised, though the title of this book may stop a few Christians from actually buying it. But I want you to know that uh, according to Ephesians 3:20, uh,
Mm.
he can do exceedingly abundantly more than we ask or think, and that's true for us who've lived sinful lives. That's true for all of us who are saved. That God can do exceedingly and abundantly more than we can ask or think, and I think that verse applies to my death and my resurrection in heaven. I sense that I'm not the first person who was actively sinning when they died that made it to heaven, and we'll cover that further in the interview when I talk about heaven. But you'd be shocked at the people who make it to heaven. You'd be really
Wow.
surprised at the types of people that arrive in heaven. And so I was pleasantly surprised to be in heaven, and I was surprised at the realm that I arrived in heaven when I arrived. Heaven has seven realms. Its lowest realm is realm one, and its highest realm is realm seven, and all the biblical patriarchs and all the strong men and women of God that were close to Jesus and who fulfilled their destiny were are in realm seven. And when I arrived, I arrived at a realm that was surprising to me. Um, when you're in a realm seven, you only meet people in realm one when the Holy Spirit directs you to go and meet with them. So the average person in heaven doesn't meet all the saints out of the Bible. They meet with people who are at their own level, and it's only through the Holy Spirit's intervention that you'll meet Noah, or you'll meet David, or you'll meet Paul or Peter. Um, so 90% of the people in heaven are in realm one, and then they get the opportunity to grow. But when I got to heaven, I arrived in realm three because I'd lived my purpose, which is one of the determining factors of the realm, and the other determining factor is your intimacy with Jesus. And most of my realm three was because I'd lived my purpose.
Thank you, Princess Diana. Isn't that beautiful? Because a lot of time we always think, especially as Christians, the way religion has shaped us, we always think you need to be living a specific set of lifestyle. You need to be righteous. You need to be someone that doesn't smoke, that doesn't drink. There's a long list of the do's and the don't, and only based on that will you be able to get to heaven. And since the conversations we've been having with the saint in this past 1 year and the Father, it has really changed my perspective a lot about what gets you to heaven and the type of people that are in heaven. And I do know a lot of people that are Christians who still find it difficult to believe, like the book that we've just, one of the chapters in God Conversation, which is the about the afterlife. There's this person that gave a very good feedback that you've really answered my questions. And it's like the person is at ease that, oh my God, thank God. I could feel a sense of relief that I don't need to be this, to be that, to get to heaven because the blood of Jesus has covered that. You just need to be your best, be a kind-hearted person. And Princess Diana, I could say you are a kind-hearted person, even though I never knew you, but I've watched a lot of documentary about you, about the story, and people still talk very, they still say a lot of good things about you. Like the Princess Diana, she's so lovely, she's this, she's that. So it's so good to hear you speak about heaven once again, and hopefully we'll be able to cover more in depth as we go. My next question, did you witness the immense
Wait a
outpouring?
sec. when Toulouse, this is Matthew, when Toulouse talked about the interviews with saints in heaven, you can check out those interviews on a playlist on Matthew's YouTube channel called Mentoring in the Heavenlies. When she talked about God conversations, you can check out the playlist, God's Last Days Message to His Children. And um, I hope that helps you for further research. Okay, go on.
Thank you. So my next question, did you witness the immense outpouring of love for you back on earth when you were in heaven?
Yeah, so that was one surprise that happened to me on Earth, on in heaven, is that you're quite able to watch the goings on Earth from like a TV screen, like a big screen, a TV in your house, and you can direct the TV by voice commands that you want to watch Prince William, you want to watch Princess Kate, you want to watch um, Prince Charles, and it'll tune in and show you their life. You can actually also go to Earth and be present at the thing. So I was present at my funeral, and I was able to watch my funeral, and people have no understanding. Normally, people who are non-believers or people who do believe in God but they don't attend church, they have a more open view of this. They would understand intuitively that the guest, the person being buried, is actually there at the funeral and witnessing the funeral. You could talk to people who don't attend church and ask them, do you think that the departed relative uh, was part of the funeral gathering and a silent witness to their own funeral? And many of them would agree. And so I not only watched the funeral procession and the event on my big screen TV, but when it came to the actual ceremony in the church, I was there listening to what was said about me. So in answer to the question, I was surprised by the immense outpouring of love from people in the world. People from all over the world came to my wedding. I was especially touched with Elton John's song about me. I was especially touched that he rewrote "Candle in the Wind" to suit me. It was a wonderful thing to be um, compared to that famous actress, and it really touched me. And many times in my ceremony at the church, I was in tears. I was touched by all the speeches, and I was touched personally, emotionally touched at how the earth loved me, how uh, I watched all the broadcasts of the news, and I listened to the messages of favorite famous people and their messages they put on the media. Um, it's still one of my favorite things to do in heaven, to go back and watch my funeral and watch what everyone said. You may think you may think that being a beautiful princess uh, is the be all and end all. You may think that that's the epitome of success, but not unless you've watched documentaries of mine. Would you know that I had an eating disorder and I was seriously disturbed, and um, just getting to heaven doesn't cure your self-esteem issues. You need to work with a therapist in heaven to overcome your self-esteem issues and your issues that you have emotionally. And though in the years I've been in heaven, that's been solved, you'd think that I wouldn't go back and watch my funeral, but it's one of the favorite things. I'm really happy that I'm really admired by the people of the earth, and I hope as you read this book, you're touched, and I can give you like a little update about my life and my life in heaven. I hope you enjoy reading what I have to say. It's uh, when I did Princess Diana Speaks from Heaven, book 1 and 2, I wasn't as close to Matthew as I am now. So I hope that I'm able to convey like a more updated, more mature sense of information than when he did the initial interviews.
Oh wow, Princess Diana, I wouldn't have imagined that it would be one of the favorite things you would like to watch going back to your funeral. I was not in the actual funeral, but I've watched a lot of documentaries that was able to depict the day and how the ceremony went, and it's really emotional, really touching. I think I've wept as when I've watched it in the past, even before I knew you, before Ben came on. And for me, if that's one of your best, it just shows. So, because I was just thinking that day will be so emotional that how were you able to hold yourself together watching that, especially seeing your young children, William and Harry, they were very young then. And that is the one that really made me so sad, like them walking behind you and you still love to watch that. I guess maybe there's a sense of connection you have with the heart when you watch it. But it's so beautiful to know that you like to go back to, even though that's really brave of you to do that, because I'm not sure whether I'll be brave enough to watch back such a thing. So thank you, Princess Diana. Mm. My next question is getting to heaven. Oh, sorry. Yes, it was part of the response that you've just given now, that you said getting to heaven does not cure your issues. People will find it difficult to believe that, Princess Diana, because I think from a lot of things that we've read in the Bible, we all assume that when we get to heaven, we just become this wonderful being and we'll have forgotten about who we are or what happened to us while we're on earth. Because when you look at it, when we came into this world, we never knew what our life was before we came to the earth. And people still have that sense of understanding that when you get to heaven, probably you will know what has happened about you on earth as well. Do you think that's a misconception that people really need to know that that's not the truth? When you get to heaven, if you have such problem, for instance, like a eating disorder, you still need to work on yourself in heaven. It doesn't just go magically.
Heaven is just like crossing the border from one country to another. So if you had an eating disorder and a low self-esteem and you'd been sexually molested and you had a whole lot of emotional pain, crossing that border to another country doesn't take all that pain away, doesn't take all that suffering away. And when you think of it, going to heaven is just like crossing a border.
Oh,
it it
wow.
it it doesn't magically cure you of everything. So if you're sexually molested and you still have emotional pain, you'll have that emotional pain in heaven. If you had an eating disorder on earth, you may struggle in heaven for different ways about that self-esteem and the way you feel. But heaven has got good therapists and it's got the best of people to speak to, and it can cure emotional pain. But it's not when you get to heaven, you're not perfect and you're not emotionally put together. It's just like crossing a border of a country. There would be no border, no matter what the country is, even if it was Australia, like the best country in the world. Um, Even if you crossed the border, got off a plane and you arrived in Australia, you'd still have your sexual abuse problems. You'd still have your eating disorder problem. You'd still have your low self-esteem. You'd still have the feeling that you're rejected by your husband. You'd still feel like you could never find the love of your life, like my life. Um, Even if getting off the plane in Australia is the same as crossing over to heaven. Uh, if you've got things to deal with emotionally, spiritually, in your life, when you die, you still got to cope with them. It's an ongoing experience of your soul, not a shutdown and a healing.
Oh, wow. Princess, and I love what you said. Heaven like it's like crossing a border. That's really a good way of illustrating it. And the fact that you cross that border doesn't make you a changed person. It is just you in a different environment. And you still need to work on your pain. It's good that we can understand this. And we're not shocked when we get to heaven and still experiencing some of the challenges of pain that we had on her. What was the very first thing you did when you got to heaven?
When I arrived in heaven, we had like a 3 day party. If you read the book of the Queen, she said she had a 5 day party. Well, I had less, like a 3 day party. Um, and when you get to heaven, for those people who don't know, you get met by your loved ones, relatives, and people that you know that you knew on earth that had gone before you. Then you get met by your favorite saints in the Bible, or if Billy Graham was one of your favorite people, or there was an evangelist on earth that had died before you died, you'd meet them. You'd meet your favorite saints out of the Bible if you always like the story of Noah's Ark and you really appreciated Noah. Noah would come to meet you, and they not only come to say hello and for you to, there's phones in heaven, not only for you to get a selfie with him, but they sit down and answer your questions and ask you questions. And all the saints in heaven actually know all about your life, and they know all about you. They know what scriptures you've read. They know why they're your favorite saint. They know everything. So they can ask some really in-depth and deep questions, and you have like a great conversation, and you keep on meeting saints and having food and sitting down at a dinner table and having food. You keep on meeting saints and more saints and having conversation after conversation until everything's finished. And that's determined by the realm that you go to in heaven. That's determined by how close you are to Jesus, how popular you were on earth. And it's a really good welcome. There's not a lot of people who speak on heaven that speak about these long welcoming committees. There's people who've had near-death experiences. Matthew's heard that are met by relatives and Jesus and people, but they don't talk about these 1 or 2 or 3 day celebrations and parties. Um, Jesus talks about a fellowship, like when Jesus talked about a son having a wedding feast. You'd expect that there'd be a lot of people at that wedding feast, and Jesus talked about the prodigal son coming home and the father throwing a party for him. So it sort of is referenced in the Bible, but there's not a lot of people Matthew has heard that's talked about this.
Mm.
The very first thing I did when I started at Heaven, the very first job I did when I started at Heaven, which is covered in the other books, is I I used to wear the world's best fashion, and I used to wear dresses from the signature fashion designers, and I was always on the front covers of magazines, and so the signature fashion designers were always getting their dresses modeled, and I received a lot of free dresses from those people. It was a big thing for me to wear your dress on the cover of a magazine. When I got to heaven, I switched things up a bit. I was told in heaven that I could train and be whatever I liked. So I asked, could I be a fashion designer? And I learned to cut patterns and design, and I was taught how to do it. And that was the first thing I did in heaven, was design my range of clothes, and I become a significant fashion designer in heaven. A lot of people know me from Earth and were impressed with my designs. And there's a lot of people that didn't know me from Earth, like Ruth, and people out of the Bible, Esther, who saw some of my elegant dresses and got them for themselves. One thing about heaven you may not know if you haven't read books about heaven is everything in heaven is free. So you can buy a dress that would cost you $3,500 on Earth. You can just go and select that and have it custom fit to you, custom taken in and designed for you. A $3,500 dress for nothing, and you can have as many clothes as you like. You can go out to restaurants for free, or the movies or theme parks. You can entertain yourself for free. So my dresses are popular and well loved, but they don't cost any money. So I got some recognition with people that knew me from Earth and have died since I died, and I got recognition from the other staple residents of heaven for my designs. And it would be really good if I could. If Matthew knew popular fashion designers, and he could pick out a dress that I designed, that I put into the mind of a fashion designer. But Matthew doesn't know fashion, and he wouldn't even know the first fashion designer in his head. You could mention one, he wouldn't even recognize it as one. But different. Michael Jackson has written songs, and Matthew's come across a song before by a Christian artist that Michael Jackson wrote. So some of the designs being worn on Earth are my designs, things that I came up with. The popular fashion designers have designed, but they got their inspiration from me. So I affect design, I affect fashion on Earth, but people just aren't to know that. So that's the first thing I did when I got to heaven, besides the welcoming party. It took a year in Earth's time for me to learn, and then within, a year in heaven time, uh, Earth time to heaven time, Matthew calculated by talking to his mother. One day in Earth time is like 21 days in heaven time. So 1 year in heaven time is like 2 months in Earth time, or 1 month, less than a month, like 15 days in Earth time is I'm trying to uh, Matthew's trying to divide di divide 52 weeks by 22, so it's probably 2 weeks in Earth time. Um, so it took me 2 weeks after I died on Earth, I was designing dresses and designs in heaven. Uh, so that's what I did. Initially, I've gone on to do other things in heaven too that are quite rewarding, and I'll answer that in a further question.
Thank you, Princess Diana. As you were responding to that, you did say about your welcoming party, and I know a lot of saints have mentioned the welcoming party, but that is shortly after the person passes away. In what state are you? Are you still in shock? Are you still trying to be aware of your environment where you are, or you don't feel any sense of shock? You just enjoy sliding to the party and just enjoy the party. What was going through your mind during those welcoming party?
I was still in shock, and but the people are very good at making you feel at home, and I still had my insecurities and my emotional trauma that arrived from Earth, but the people of heaven understood that. They understand where you're coming from. They know all about your life, so they say things and communicate things that are relative to where you're at. And I transitioned in heaven. I've been up here long enough that I got no hurts and no pains and no struggles, and everything is good, which you'd expect after being in heaven for as many years as me. Um, but um, but initially, I I, uh, I was surprised with the people that turned out. Some of my biggest heroes in the Bible wanted to spend time with me, and it was truly shocking. It was amazing.
Thank you, Princess Diana. And what are your main activities in heaven now?
So I do three things now. Matthew wasn't aware that we're going to be answering this question next, but I do three major things at the moment. I've got workers who work in my label. Um, I sort of I draw all the designs, a lot of the designs, and then I have other designers that work with me that take my drawings and produce the costumes. But I also teach in a school. I teach English in a school. I have students. And besides that, I do official functions with my mother. So I act like a princess, opening buildings and opening charities. And I speak at those events, and I wear a nice cocktail dress and have evening sort of openings. And so I act like an official princess, like I did on Earth for a time while I was married to Charles. Um, and the Queen is actually the Queen of Heaven, not the evil Queen of Heaven mentioned in Jeremiah, but she's become the Queen of Heaven, and she opens all the buildings and does the official ceremonies to a lot of things, and she has a staff. Matthew's mother, June, works for the Queen also. Um, but I get a lot of enjoyment out of doing that and opening buildings and meeting people. There's also lineups of people who come out to meet me, and I'm able to meet with them and have like a 5 minute conversation with them and take a selfie for them. And that's really enjoyable meeting my fans, meeting people that dearly love me for all the right reasons. I get a lot of enjoyment out of teaching young children. I really love children, and the children are like my own children. The energy of children is just good. Looking after children in heaven is like a promotion. It's not the job you get straight away. It's when you've been performing in heaven and doing things with excellence in heaven, you're promoted to a place if you choose to teach children. So Michael Jackson was in heaven for a number of years before he was given a job to teach children also. So it's like a promotion you get in heaven. Um, and it's mostly by surprise.
Mm,
It's not something that you request.
mm.
Just Jesus comes along one day and said, "We're going to have you as a school teacher next week, starting next week." And it's just like the best of surprises you get on your birthday or for your wedding anniversary or Christmas on earth is when it's really something you dearly love and you're given that as a surprise. Teaching children really came as a surprise for me and fills my heart with joy. Out of the fashion designing, the teaching children and opening buildings, it's the teaching children that's the most special to my heart.
Wow, who would have thought that teaching children in heaven will be a special thing to do? Oh, that's beautiful to know. Princess Diana, while you were speaking, I wanted to ask, do you ever imagine you'll be performing the princess role you're doing now in heaven?
No, I never imagined that. That's once again when I was talking about surprises, that the best sort of Christmas or birthday surprise is something that you dearly want, and you haven't really mentioned it. It's just a silent wish of yours, and then it comes along, and someone's heard your wish, or intuitively they've worked out what you really desire and given it to you. Um, Heaven knows that when the Queen arrived in heaven and took
Mm,
over Mary Magdalene's job as the Queen of Heaven, the Queen quickly we'd established a relationship and we've made up our relationship and patched up our differences. And soon um, the Queen soon invited me to come and be part of a team to be like a princess. And that was, I wanted to be a princess on
mm.
Earth, and I wanted to do that. I really loved that role when I was doing it. And then the Queen did that. June Payne, Matthew's mother, is going to ascend and do the Queen's job soon. And the Queen is going to go off and do a more important job. But after June's done it for a while, then June is going to ascend and do a higher job. And then I'm in line to be the most important Queen of Heaven. So uh, if I was on earth, I'd be Queen right now. But in heaven, things are more at stake and more important. So I look forward to being in charge, but at the moment, just being one of the workers, like a modern princess on Earth. I really enjoy myself. I really love what I'm doing.
Oh, thank you, Princess Diana. I'm not surprised that you're a princess because you're born to be a princess. You really carry the role really well and you devoted your time and love to people while you are here on earth. So I guess you will even be more compassionate now that you've been in heaven for a long time. You understand what it is to love than probably where you were on earth. You said something that, when you have a silent wishes, do you think that could happen as well to people on earth? That you could have a silent wishes and God will just grant you your silent wishes.
Uh, there's a verse in Psalm 37 uh, that 30 Psalm 37:4 that says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." And if you understand that scripture, if you've got a heart's desire, you've got a desire to actually do something, God can come along and grant that desire without you actually speaking it out loud. It can just be a desire of yours. So God can do that on earth with some people. Some people are like pinching themselves that how
Mm.
successful and how powerful and how much everything they're doing everything they even dreamed of doing. So there's a lot of people who will achieve their desires on earth.
Thank you, Princess Diana. My next question is how well do you know Jesus and what is he like?
So Jesus, I shared this in uh, another book of Matthew's, but we're going forth with this book, assuming that you haven't read those books. Um, Jesus is the most kindest, loving, compassionate, considerate, patient, gentle, exciting person that you could ever meet. He could be a female. He could be a female. He's so he's so loving that he's like a female. He's he's masculine and he's got manhood about him and he's got authority and he's got the biceps of a man. He's got the body of a man, but his gentle nature is almost feminine. He's so sweet and caring, and he can read your mind, and he'll start to answer questions of yours before you ask the question. Um, he'll be speaking to you and answering three of your questions in his monologue on what he's saying. He'll answer your three next questions before you ask them, but he doesn't do that all the time. Uh, it would get annoying if someone was doing that. It's like they'd be hogging the conversation, but from time to time, he'll surprise you. He'll say something and answer three of your questions that you had for him in what he's saying. It comes out so naturally and so free flowing. Matthew hasn't got the vocabulary of Jesus. I don't mind bigger words and more complex words, and Matthew hasn't got those words to express when he's talking on behalf of me. But Jesus. Jesus knows the Bible and spiritual things at a profound level, and I mix with Mary Magdalene, and Mary Magdalene is a mystic, and so Jesus can share some truly mystical and profound spiritual truths in conversation, just in you're not even aiming to speak about profound things. You're not even on the subject level, and uh, he'll say something like, "If you want it, you'll have it," and that'll hit you like that's like profound. And then he'll go into 20 minutes on all the Bible verses and all the verses in the Quran and all the verses in the Bhagavad Gita, like three spiritual books. And he'll quote all the verses out of those three books that confirm if you want it, you'll have it. Um, and every spiritual book that's written about the subject and what other philosophers in the past have said. He'll quote all those sources to confirm that truth. If you want it, you'll have it. Um, you'll be asking about something you want to do, and he'll answer that and then go on for half an hour about how you've got to want it first before it will materialize. And it would be really good for Matthew to interview him and say that. But the thing is that Matthew doesn't know what the Buddhist book says and doesn't know what the Quran says and doesn't know what the philosophers say. So Matthew couldn't bring that voice because he hasn't got those sources in his own intellect. But he's truly deep and amazing. There's no level of depth. You can't get to the lowest depth with Jesus. Like there's no level that he's limited by. He goes really deep. He can talk about a subject. If you want it, you'll have it. He could talk about that for 5 days and be getting deeper and deeper. There's absolutely no limit to his depth. And him and Mary and Toulouse's husband Benjamin, they talk at a level that's so deep that it's amazing. Toulouse got a son called Emmanuel, and Emmanuel is as deep as Jesus, and it's just fascinating listening to them speak. And John Lennon's are quite deep too. I really like John. Um, and so he's deep spiritually. He's mystical. He's a mystic. Um, but he's also like refreshing love. Like when he looks at you, you know that you've been fully seen, and you can travel the whole world and meet hundreds of people and rarely meet someone who truly sees you, who
Mm.
sees every dimension of your character, sees every dimension of you and understands you. I knew people knew me quite well, and there's bodyguards that have written books about me, and they knew surface information, but they didn't see me. Like no one really seen me on earth. No one really saw me, and but Jesus, when you meet him face to face, you can tell with one look in his eyes that he sees you, that he knows you, and he understands you. And fresh from having um, an affair with Dodie, uh, Jesus' love and acceptance was there, unconditional love, and uh, he's his eyes are like swimming pools. I said this in the former book that you can look into Jesus' eyes and see creation being formed. You can see the Big Bang happening and all the stars being created and the earth being created. You can just look into his eyes and see a video of that happen. You can you can look into his eyes and hear the prayers of all the saints on earth. He's got a lot going on. Elon Musk said not many people would like his mind because his mind is always active with ideas. And he said not many people would like his mind. The mind of Jesus is fascinating, and he is fascinating. I've never, even counting all the people in heaven, I've never met anyone as fascinating as Jesus, and he knows so much, and he's not judgmental. He could speak for weeks and months on end about the other faiths and the truths in all the faiths, the modern faiths of the world. He's got extensive knowledge, and he's got the masters of those faiths in heaven. They've come to heaven because they've had good hearts, and he he's patient. You can have something on your mind, and you can speak about it for 20 minutes, and you can have something really annoying you, and he'll listen and listen and listen, and then ask questions about what you've said. And you could be speaking for 2 hours straight, and him not really interrupting, just asking specific questions about what you're saying. you could speak for a week and Jesus would just patiently listen to you. They're rare. People that you say, sorry, I've been speaking too much, or excuse me for speaking. If you've ever spoken that much in your life, you've actually made an apology to the person saying, sorry, I'm speaking so much. It's when you've got so much on your heart, so much on your mind, you just can't help speaking. Well, I've been that way with Jesus, and he's just listened for hours and hours and days just allowed me pour it all out, and something beautiful is created in your relationship with him when you're able to do that. And I'm not sure if you know a person that you could speak to for 5 hours and just speak straight
Mm.
and them just listen. It's very rare among humans that they've got the patience or the time to probably excuse themselves and say, I've got to go home now. I've got to see a friend, or they'll
Mm.
make an excuse to cut it off and to stop it, but there's no stopping it with Jesus. He'll even have other appointments and push those appointments back because you're speaking. He's
Mm.
got patience at that level that he could let you speak for hours. He's mystical. He talks about deep things. He's got unconditional, proven love for you. The love that comes out of Jesus' eyes just comes out in waves. There's like a wavelength to his love, just pours out in waves towards you. Um, he's kind. He's really kind. He'll come to my school, and all the students will rush up to sit on his lap and sit around him, and he'll tell stories and fascinating children's stories, and it's all age appropriate. I've got 8-year-olds that I teach, and he'll tell stories exactly suited to an 8-year-old, and they'll sit around and be fascinated for hours. He'll tell story after story and ask some questions about the characters to make sure that they're listening, and he'll award a certain student a prize for being the best listener. And he just everything you'd want in a husband, everything that you'd want in a father, everything you'd want in a priest, everything you'd want in a god, everything you'd want in a skeptic, uh, everything you'd want in a philosopher. He's just a combination of the best, and he's uh, he's like my boyfriend. He holds my face and he holds my hand. We go walks together. He's really romantic. He's romantic with all the women that are open to that, and you there's people in heaven with marriages, and there's couples in heaven, and they have that special form of love, and then there's single people like me in heaven that Jesus is like the partner.
Mm.
And he's just amazing. I'll let you go now with that description, but honestly, I think you can tell as you listen to this on video or as you read this. I think you could tell that I could go on for another 20-minute pages talking about Jesus. He really is the most fascinating, amazing, beautiful person that you could ever imagine.
Thank you, Princess Diana. Your description of Jesus is so detailed. You've got so many things to say about Jesus. Well, you said something that really struck a chord in me, which is no one really saw me on her. When you were on her, you believe people did not see you because we only see you outside while you're doing your day-to-day royal duties, but not necessarily who you are behind the closed door. And I was just thinking the way you've been describing Jesus of how loving, how kind he is. I wouldn't, I've not experienced Jesus the way you have experienced Jesus, but I know that through the conversations, lots and lots of conversations that I had with Jesus through Ben. I know that there are times that I'm sitting there 2, 3 hours and I've forgotten that actually we've been talking for 2, 3 hours and Ben is sitting there like in case if he
So
needs to do
just
something.
this is just Matthew speaking. Throughout Toulouse's marriage, her husband, which was a prophet, used to speak in Jesus' voice, and from time to time, like she says here, he was speaking for 2 to 3 hours. So he would go into somewhat like a trance, and Jesus would take over and just start speaking through him to Toulouse. So um, Toulouse has had many thousands of times where she's spoken to Jesus face to face through the voice of her husband.
Thank you, Matthew, for explaining. And I guess it just became my normality for so many years. And sometimes I'm so captivated by what Jesus is saying that I've forgotten that my husband probably needs to go and do something now because it's so difficult for me to let go when Jesus is speaking to me. I have so many questions. I just want the conversation to go on and on. But even still, I would say I never knew Jesus the way you know him. So do you think we see Jesus or we know Jesus the way you have described him, especially for us still living on earth? Do you think the church sees Jesus in the way you've just described him?
I don't just let's just take all of the elements are like super big in heaven. Like you can get candy floss and it's really big, and when you can go on a ride in heaven like a children's fair ride, a roller coaster, and it's bigger in heaven. Everything's bigger in heaven, and Jesus' personality is bigger. There's an
Mm.
atmosphere where things can be bigger, but just in the aspect of being mystical, um, it would be rare to get someone speak if you want it, you can have it, and be able to quote sources from 4 or 5 of the world's most popular like religious texts.
Mm.
For a person to be able to bring those, a person could do that in a speech, in a prepared speech, but just to bring that off the cuff, just to cite all those quotations just in the middle of a conversation. You made you were talking about the subject, uh, and Jesus has said to you, console you. If you can see it, you can have it, or if you want it, you can have it. Um, that came out based on what conversation you're having. Then he goes into this soliloquy, this uh, uh, dialogue of of quoting all these sources and philosophers. It's like he's chat GPT. It's like Jesus has got like a chat GPT mind. He's got like a database, a driven mind that can just bring up every source. You could probably ask chat GPT to go into all religious texts and write quotes that confirm this. And but before ChatGPT, you wouldn't be able to do it. And Jesus can do that on any subject. So
Yeah.
just the mystical part of Jesus is just amazing. You may think that it's something profound. If you want it, you can have it. Maybe sound like something profound, but when you hear from 10 philosophers that have been in the past that have said the same thing, then you start to realize that it really is a mystical
Mm.
truth that Jesus has just shared. Um, and he's like that with everything. There's depth to his love, there's depth to his kindness, how he'll spend hours with someone who just approaches him and wants to talk to him, and he'll just invest hours of his time, his kindness, his goodness, his compassion, his love, every dimension that you can think of, Jesus outshines everyone.
Oh, wow, that's really beautiful description you've given Jesus there. Thank you so much, Princess Diana. I wanted to ask you about the Father as well, that you have a close relationship with the Father, and if so, what is it like?
So part of going through the realms in heaven, part of being promoted in the realms of heaven is not only to do what you're destined to do as you become aligned with what you're meant to be doing in heaven, as you start to practice it, it'll help you get promotions higher and higher in the realms of heaven. But also another factor in those promotions is your intimacy with Jesus and the Father. So I've come to know the Father really well. Um, Matthew and Toulouse have been doing a series, God's Last Days Message to His Children, and they've been asking like 21 questions in every book, and they've published 4 books, but they're up to book 6 in the questions, and we've all been tuning in, and there's so much wisdom, there's so much knowledge, there's so much you can understand the Father in what has been said, and I've had some really in-depth conversations with the Father. The Father is like Jesus, he's very mystical, and he can speak about profound things. Just everything that I said about Jesus is true of his Father. Um, but his Father's really sad. There's
Mm,
tremendous responsibility on the Father for the
mm,
goings on in heaven and on earth. And although the Father doesn't do the bad things on earth, the fact that he created free will makes him feel responsible for
mm,
what's happened. And you can imagine in the West, 1/3 of young girls get molested and raped by their fathers. And you can imagine uh, the toll that that takes on God and all those suffering young girls and also young boys. And when you see the root causes of homosexuality and drug abuse and obesity and sleeping disorders, comes back to sexual abuse many times. You see all the pain and the suffering on earth that has resulted from sexual abuse or alcohol abuse or drug abuse or uh, pill prescribed pill abuse. There's so many addictive things on earth. There's so much abuse. There's so much suffering, and God suffers watching that and listening to the prayers of the suffering. And I've got a close relationship with God, and uh, it's really grown over the last 3 months of uh, Earth time as I've been listening to the interviews that Matthew and Toulouse have been doing, and I'm not the only one who's drawn close to God in this time. It's having a big effect on many people in heaven. I just want to share with you, Toulouse, that um, it's the greatest thing that heaven has ever seen, and it really listening to each interview pulls you closer and closer. And I've been with the father and talked to him about some of these subjects, and he's just broken down in tears. And He's not shy, and he's very frank and very honest. He's very transparent. And if you get talking about one of these subjects that really makes him sad, he's able to open up and share his feelings. And I wouldn't say he's deeper than Jesus, but he goes deeper faster.
Mm.
You only have to talk for 1 minute about his subject, and he's become what people on earth would say really intense. He can be really intense. And um, have you ever met someone who's intense, that's always talking about subjects at great depth, but they're really intense? It's really hard to get them in a happy sort of normal mood. They're always intensely talking about subjects. The father's really intense. He's he's an emotional cyclone. Um,
Mm.
and you feel like you're going into the eye of a cyclone, uh, sitting next to God and talking to him. It's like it's dangerous. It's like you're getting into this really cloudy, dark situation, and you're wondering as you pursue the conversation, will you be able to handle it? Will you be damaged? Um, and not many people see that darkness, that great darkness in the Father. Not many people venture to see that or experience that. But the Father likes to have people come into him and come into that vortex of emotion and darkness. Um, and so he can be happy, and he can laugh, and he can be funny and humorous. Um, but most of when you're close to him, he's sharing his darkness, he's sharing his pain and his struggles. And I'm in level 6, which is the second highest realm in heaven. And much as my growth has happened over the last 3 months, as
Wow.
I've been going face to face with the Father, and I really appreciate what you're doing in God's last days message to his children. And I encourage you, if you're reading this book, to read the series of books, God's Last Days Message to His Children. There's 4 published books on Amazon at the moment, and they're going to continue as a series. I really encourage people to look at those books and explore those books. God has the final word on everyone. Like Jesus, God could do like a 1 week sermon on the major tenets of every major faith. Uh, he could uh, he could teach all the fundamentals of each faith and then back it up with Bible verses that back up those truths, and philosophers' statements that back up that truth, and other writers, Christian writers, who've written things that back up that truth. And he's really deep and profound, but he's full of power. He's full of authority. When he raises his voice in anger, it's like reverberates like an earthquake through heaven. And he can he can speak one word and have an earthquake go through earth, and he can speak to a storm and stop the storm. He's got such immense power and authority, and when you speak to him, his authority comes through. And so on the converse of that, when you see him crying, it's such a powerful force to witness someone so powerful, but completely broken and completely vulnerable. So knowing him has really helped, and the whole of heaven started to get to know him better as he did interviews. And that's hard to believe, but it's just like God was a billionaire that's a recluse
Mm.
that lives in his home, deals with his wife, and loving to his wife, goes out to the shops, doesn't really say anything to anyone. It's kind and polite to people, but doesn't make a big flash of things. He may own a computer software company that's the biggest in the world. He could own Microsoft or Google or something. He's a really rich billionaire. Everyone has seen his face. Everyone knows who he is, but no one knows him. He he goes from his house out to buy things and stuff, but doesn't talk to anyone, goes back to his house and reads books and searches the internet and has dinner with his wife. And that's like who God is. Like God was in heaven for years and no one knew him. No one knows him. And it's like a real special spacecraft journey to his heart. And to have the honor and the privilege to sit down with him and explore his heart is a real uh, honest privilege. And I've come to know him fairly well, and it's exciting because he's like 1.5 times as much as Jesus. Like he's more profound, more richer, more loving, more compassionate. He's like 1.5 double as good as Jesus. And as you draw close to Jesus, it gives you a springboard into the heart of the Father. But if you don't know Jesus, if you don't have an intimate relationship with Jesus, there's no chance that you'd get close to the Father.
Thank you, Princess Diana. You've really said a lot about the father, and it's very touching and very devastating as well. Because when you say the father has been sad, which it only came through the conversations, and you wouldn't think the Father is neglected, like the creator of heaven and earth is neglected. I found that really difficult to fathom, to understand for a long time, because I was just thinking, can that be true? Can the Father be lonely? Can the Father not have enough friends? But the more we have the conversation, the more I understand the Father bit by bit. It will be different for you guys that are in heaven. Probably you'll be able to have more intimate relationship. And I know Princess Diana, you can say, well, no, it doesn't matter. You can be on heart and have a close relationship with him because Matthew do have a close relationship with the Father. But it's just been so beautiful to see the Father open up his heart and let us see his heart and to let us into him to see how vulnerable he has been, telling us, this is my situation and I need my children. I need you to step up. I need you to take responsibility. I need you to support me. I need you to be there for me as your father. And it's just so good. And I think one of the surprising things that I really thank you for, Princess Diana, is one of our conversation at the dinner table. And you did encourage me that what we meant was you just need to do more research to do so that when you are giving your commentary, you can add insight from those research because Matthew do a lot of research. I shouldn't not just be working, doing all these interviews without not educating myself around what is happening. And I just noticed that I've just been so oblivious to what happens around me. I don't know, maybe because I was so deeply immersed in my own life, in the challenges that I was going through, that I never even thought of what is happening in my environment. What are the pains, the challenges that people are going through on a day-to-day basis? And since I started doing the research, it has just opened the floodgate of things that's happening that I wasn't aware of. And it just makes me really sad because I'm thinking, how does the father cope with this? Because no father will want to see his children being molested. No father will want to see his children going hungry. And these are the things that are happening every day. People are dying of hunger. People are in desperate situations. They're sick. They're not happy. They're being molested. There's so many things that is happening. And Dell's research has really, really helped me. And it has really helped me to appreciate my life better or to be able to cope with my pains better. So thank you so much for advising me to do that. And looking at the father, Ben was able to carry the father's voice, but that was very few times. Majority of the time, it was Jesus that Ben, my husband, used to carry his voice. But on few occasions, maybe the father needs to tell me off, like maybe you need to listen to, you need to do this because I was really, really stubborn. To get me to do something, you need to remind me several times before it sticks to my brain. So I remember the father speaking to me on those few occasions. But what really stayed with me until now, which I always love to go back to, is the first prophecy that Matthew did for me because it was from the Father, which is an endearing message to a friend. I can't forget the title. And that was Matthew spoke in the voice of the Father. And it was really touching. It was healing for me because that was the first time I could hear clearly from heaven. And it was 3 months into my husband going to heaven, going up. So I was still in that limbo. I don't know what is happening. I'm sad and everything. And when I heard the message, I started crying. And I still cherish that message till today. I saw the message briefly to them. I was like, you need to transcribe this message and go back to them and read them a lot because this was the first message the Father spoke to you. And that was what made me to really not let go of Matthew because at the beginning it was so difficult for me and Matthew to start this relationship. But I knew what the Father said, and I was like, no, there must be a purpose why the Father has said this. So thank you, Princess Diana, for going really deep into. And what really surprised me most there is how you've ascended, Princess Diana, from REM 3 to REM 6. Because if I remember, the last time we spoke, you were in REM 3 or 4, and you jumped into REM 6. That is beautiful to know that all of those messages from the Father is really helping you, and it has really allowed you to grow deeper with the Father. So the next question is, who are your close friends?
We're going to stop here.
Okay, you want us to stop here? Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
so it's
So,
been an hour. I think it's been an hour and 10 minutes. So
oh,
we'll make this part one. We may do part one, part two, part three. May add some
okay,
questions to
more
the end of
question. Okay,
this.
okay,
But if you enjoyed this uh, video, please press like. And if you got any comments that you want to make on the video, please take the time to make the comments. Um, this this video will be part of a playlist on YouTube, and the playlist will be mentioned next to the title of the video. Uh, I I encourage you to watch some of the videos, God's Last Days Message to His Children, or better still, actually buy the books, book 1 to 4 on Kindle. They're all 99 cents each. Or you can get book 1 to 3 uh, under Conversations with God, volume 1 to 3. You can look that up on Amazon and get the first 3 books for 99 cents. God bless you and keep you. If you feel like subscribing to my channel, you can do that too. God bless you.